Are you your own worst enemy? Do you find yourself getting in your own way, even when you're on the cusp of achieving something great? This book, Ego is the Enemy, dives deep into the psychology of self-sabotage and explores how our ego can hold us back in every stage of life, from ambition and aspiration to success, and even failure. We'll be exploring stories of both historical and contemporary figures, from generals like William Tecumseh Sherman and George McClellan, to entrepreneurs like Howard Hughes and John DeLorean, to athletes like Jackie Robinson and Kirk Hammett of Metallica. We'll see how unchecked ego led to the downfall of some, while mindful control allowed others to achieve incredible things. This isn't just a book for aspiring entrepreneurs or CEOs. This is for anyone who wants to do great work, for anyone who wants to understand how to overcome their own internal obstacles to reach their full potential. If you're a part of a team or working group, the lessons here will resonate even more deeply. This book will teach you how to stay humble in your aspirations, avoid getting ahead of yourself and focus on the work, not the hype. Be gracious in your success, don't let achievement turn you into someone you don't want to be. Stay resilient in your failures, learn how to bounce back from setbacks with strength and renewed purpose. This book will challenge you to look inward and confront the destructive forces of your own ego. It will arm you with tools and insights from Stoic philosophy and historical examples to help you stay grounded, focused, and on the path to achieving your goals. Are you ready to start the journey? Let's begin. Part 1. Aspire. Talk, talk, talk. Stop talking. Start doing. Do you find yourself constantly talking about what you're going to do, but never actually getting around to doing it? This chapter explores the insidious nature of talk and how it can sap our energy and prevent us from taking action. Mere gossip anticipates real talk, and to express what is still in thought weakens action by forestalling it, warned Kierkegaard. We see this everywhere in our modern world, with social media constantly prompting us to share our thoughts and plans before we've even begun to act. It's easier to talk about writing a book than to actually sit down and write it. It's easier to dream about starting a business than to actually take the first steps to build it. But as we'll see through examples, like General Sherman, whose careful silence allowed for strategic flexibility, and Bo Jackson, who quietly pursued his athletic goals, silence can be a source of strength. It allows us to focus our energy on the work itself, rather than on seeking validation from others. To be or to do, choose your path wisely. Tiger, one day you will come to a fork in the road, John Boyd told his protege. And you're going to have to make a decision about which direction you want to go. He then illustrated the two paths, one towards being somebody, with all the compromises and potential betrayal that entails, and the other towards doing something meaningful, often at the expense of recognition and promotion. This chapter pushes us to confront our deepest motivations. Are we in it for the accolades and status, or are we driven by a larger purpose? Do we want to simply be seen as successful, or do we actually want to accomplish something? This isn't about rejecting ambition, but about aligning it with our true values. It's about choosing the path that allows us to stay true to ourselves and our goals, even if it means making sacrifices along the way. Become a student, never stop learning. In this chapter, we see how even someone like Kirk Hammett, the lead guitarist for one of the biggest metal bands in the world, Metallica, understood the importance of continuous learning. Despite achieving success, he sought out Joe Satriani, a renowned guitar teacher, to help him improve his skills and understanding of music. This is a powerful example of the student mindset, an attitude of humility and continuous learning that is essential for achieving mastery in any field. It requires us to put our ego aside and accept that there are always things we can learn from others, even those who may seem less experienced or accomplished. Restrain yourself, control your impulses. This chapter explores the importance of self-control, particularly in the face of adversity and injustice. We see this vividly in the story of Jackie Robinson, who faced constant racism and abuse as he broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. Despite the provocation, Robinson adhered to his agreements with Branch Rickey to not fight back, understanding that giving in to his anger would jeopardize his larger goal of integrating the sport. This chapter challenges us to overcome our natural impulses, to react defensively, to lash out, or to seek revenge when things don't go our way. It teaches us the importance of delaying gratification, of eating it and working harder, of playing the long game even when it feels impossible. The danger of early pride. Don't let success go to your head. This chapter delves into the dangers of early pride and how even minor accomplishments can inflate our ego and distort our perception of reality. We see this through the story of a young Benjamin Franklin, whose early success led to arrogance and a painful lesson in humility. We also explore the downfall of Ty Warner, creator of Beanie Babies, whose outsized ego and belief in his own invincibility led to the destruction of his company. This chapter warns us against counting our chickens before they hatch, of falling in love with an image of success rather than with the hard work and dedication required to achieve it. It reminds us that staying grounded, maintaining hunger, and continuing to seek feedback are essential for sustaining success. Part 2. Success. Always stay a student. Keep learning. Keep growing. This chapter builds on the idea of the student mindset introduced earlier, emphasizing the need for continuous learning even after we've achieved success. We explore the life and conquests of Genghis Khan, whose openness to learning and appropriation of the best ideas and technologies from the cultures he encountered was instrumental in his rise to power. The lesson here is clear. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. It's this humility that keeps us open to new ideas and prevents us from becoming stagnant or complacent. This chapter challenges us to keep pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zone, to seek out new experiences and knowledge, and to never stop being a student of life. Don't tell yourself a story. Avoid false narratives. This chapter explores the seductive power of narrative and how easy it is to fall prey to creating a self-serving story about our own success. We see this through the story of Bill Walsh, who led the San Francisco 49ers to multiple Super Bowl victories. Despite his achievements, Walsh refused to indulge in the narrative of the genius coach who had it all figured out from the beginning. Instead, he focused on instilling a standard of performance and relentlessly pursuing excellence, day after day. This chapter reminds us that success is rarely linear or predictable. It challenges us to avoid the trap of believing our own hype, and to stay focused on the process, on the day-to-day work that ultimately leads to lasting achievement. What's important to you? Stay true to your values. This chapter explores the crucial importance of understanding our own values and priorities, particularly as we navigate the challenges of success. We see the contrasting paths of Ulysses S. Grant and William Tecumseh Sherman, both successful generals in the Civil War. While Sherman wisely stepped away from politics and lived a contented life, Grant pursued the presidency only to be consumed by the corruption and pressure of Washington. The lesson here is that external markers of success, such as wealth, power, or prestige, can distract us from what truly matters. This chapter challenges us to define success on our own terms, to understand what brings us fulfillment and meaning, and to make choices that align with our values, even if it means saying no to opportunities that might seem appealing on the surface. Part 3. Failure. A lifetime or dead time. Turn setbacks into opportunities. This chapter explores the concept of a lifetime versus dead time, and how we can use setbacks and failures as opportunities for growth and transformation. We see this vividly through the story of Malcolm X, who used his time in prison to educate himself, becoming a powerful writer and activist. This chapter challenges us to reframe our perception of failure, to see it not as a personal defeat, but as a chance to learn, to grow, and to emerge stronger. It reminds us that every moment, even the most challenging, can be used for something productive, for something that moves us forward. The effort is enough. Focus on what you can control. This chapter explores the story of Belisarius, one of the greatest military generals in history, who despite achieving incredible victories, was ultimately betrayed and discarded by the emperor he served. Despite this unjust treatment, Belisarius never complained or lashed out, finding solace in knowing that he had done his duty and lived according to his principles. This chapter teaches us the crucial lesson that we cannot control how our work is received, or whether it is appreciated or rewarded. What we can control is our effort, our dedication to doing the right thing, and our commitment to our own internal standards. This is a powerful source of strength and resilience, particularly in the face of setbacks and failures. Fight Club moments. Embrace the breakdown. This chapter explores the concept of Fight Club moments, those jarring, perspective-altering experiences that force us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us. These moments can be painful, but they are often necessary for breaking down our ego and creating space for growth and transformation. This chapter challenges us to embrace the breakdown, to see it as an opportunity to shed our illusions, and to confront the reality of our situation. It reminds us that true strength lies not in denying or resisting difficulty, but in facing it head-on and using it as fuel for growth and change. Draw the line. Know when to stop. This chapter explores the importance of knowing when to stop, of recognizing when our ego is driving us down a destructive path, and of having the courage to pull the plug before it's too late. We see this through the tragic downfall of John DeLorean, whose inability to admit his mistakes and his relentless pursuit of success at any cost led to his company's collapse and his own arrest. This chapter challenges us to ask ourselves the tough questions. Is this the person I want to be? Am I sacrificing my values for the sake of achievement? Am I making things worse by fighting for something I'm only destroying? It reminds us that sometimes the bravest and wisest decision is to walk away, to make a full stop, and to re-evaluate our priorities. Maintain your own scorecard. Don't rely on external validation. This chapter explores the importance of having our own internal standards of success, rather than relying on external markers of validation or approval. We see this through the story of the New England Patriots, who despite drafting Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, recognized that their scouting reports had been way off, and used this failure as an opportunity to improve their evaluation process. This chapter challenges us to define success on our own terms, to focus on our own growth and development, and to hold ourselves to a standard that exceeds what society might consider to be objective success. It reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from winning at all costs, but from becoming the best version of ourselves, day after day. Always love, overcome hatred and bitterness. This chapter explores the destructive nature of hatred and bitterness, and how these emotions can consume us and prevent us from achieving our goals. We see this through the story of Orson Welles, who faced a relentless campaign of hatred and sabotage from William Randolph Hearst, the powerful media magnate who believed the movie Citizen Kane was based on his life. Despite this attack, Welles continued to make great art and lived a fulfilling life, while Hearst's actions ultimately tarnished his legacy and made him a figure of ridicule. This chapter challenges us to let go of anger and resentment, to avoid the trap of seeking revenge, and to focus instead on creating positive change in the world. It reminds us that love, in its broadest sense, is a far more powerful and effective force than hate, and that choosing love over hate is ultimately the path to freedom and happiness. Conclusion. The battle with ego is a lifelong struggle, one that we all face in our own unique ways. The good news is that it's a battle we can win, but it requires constant vigilance, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront our own weaknesses. By learning from the mistakes and successes of others, by internalizing the principles outlined in this book, we can learn to manage our ego and direct its energy towards productive ends. We can choose humility over arrogance, purpose over passion, and strength over self-destruction. The journey won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Because in the end, overcoming our ego is not just about achieving success, it's about becoming the best version of ourselves.